Inaka, very good evening to you. Thank you for your time. So 52% of your respondents in this survey were not happy with the way government is handling both the pandemic and the lockdown. Why?
Good evening, and thank you very much for inviting me back on the program. It's always a privilege to share our latest survey findings. Just one step back in terms of how we did the survey. So it was done through the Consulta panel online research community, and it's a community of about 350,000 people that we built up over the last 10 years. And it's people that really have a commitment to give a voice. It's not just something that we disseminate out and do a poll. So it's people around 18 years and older from all demographics. Specifically, this survey were completed by people that have data and access to online surveys. So the results is a bit more of a reflection of your middle to upper market. If we focus on the 4 areas that we asked people to give us some feedback, one certainly was government, and I'll talk to that, around banks, income continuation, how people are going to generate an income, and also how this affects them personally. Now, very interesting, if we start off with the findings on government, we asked the survey respondents to please give us their view on how government is handling the pandemic. Now, rightly so, 52% were negative, but if we really want to split hairs, it's a little bit down the middle on positive and negative. The positive was around lockdown, that government acted fast, took leadership, and really the communication. But when people were negative about how government has handled the lockdown, there were 2 focus areas. Around the beginning, when there was a little bit of confusion and there was contradictory remarks from different areas of ministers, and a second focus very much around the ongoing, the negative outlook in terms of our health system, people very concerned on the state of our health system, whether we have the capacity to handle if this pandemic actually expands. And the second thing really around the socioeconomic focus, and it was interesting, again, I said this is a little bit more reflective of the middle and upper market that can look at social distancing, but the fear of what the measures are that's being taken, if it's actually feasible within our community. So it was actually a very interesting finding that people in middle and upper were quite negative about government's ability to actually enforce social distancing.
Interesting then, because that ties in nicely with my next question about the 48% who say that the lockdown was in fact our best possible option. How do they spread out, especially among the social class spectrum?
So again, the 48%, as I said, in terms of the community that answered this specific survey, it's a bit more to middle to upper income. And we are busy with the next wave that we will have the more lower end spectrum income. So we will work that in. But people were generally more positive around the course of action and the decisiveness of the action and the leadership that government has showed in terms of bringing the lockdown and actually starting with the lockdown quite early in the process.
And just on the income question, Inaka, I'm wondering if people are away from work now, they are losing money, especially freelancers and the like, but what's the level of anxiety post the coronavirus pandemic about job security and income?
I think it's a very interesting question because people look at this income continuation. So in the survey, there was kind of a focus on 2 areas. Within the lockdown, 7 out of 10 people said to us, well, we are going to continue to work. And 43% of those then said, well, I'm going to work from home. And 14% said, well, I'm going to continue to work, but I am an essential worker. I'm going to go to work. 7% of that was teachers that said, well, I need to wait until the schools reopen. Those that were not working, that said, I cannot continue to work. Around 12% of the people that answered the survey said, I can't continue to work because I'm either self-employed or I work for a small employer and I'm not an essential service. And then we also had 10% of people that said, I'm a retiree that do get a pension income, but I generally generate more income, but I wouldn't be able now during COVID. So people really think about the income generation possibility fairly positive, but I think as we continue with the lockdown, it seems like the sentiment is going to start going a little bit more negative if we don't have constructive intervention from government as well as from private sector to make sure that the income continuation and the income security of all sectors are secured.
Very quickly, but important question, Inika, the level of knowledge that people have about COVID-19, was that at a satisfactory level?
It was very, very interesting that 80% of people actually felt they knew enough, and they knew enough to be able to protect themselves. And we tested that, because people say, I know enough, but now do you actually know enough? And do you know the right things? And then we tested, and people had a 90% plus score on known symptoms, on how the virus transferred, the incubation period, as well as the best ways to prevent the spread. So I think very much the message landed: wash your hands, don't touch your face, and and the close social contact. I think government was really successful in landing that message.
Inika Prinsloo with the market research firm Consulta. Thank you so much for being on ENCA tonight, Inika.